Okay, so the recording has begun.
The recording has
Good.
begun. Okay, so
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take it further. Welcome to the first episode of our brand new show, The Luxury Renaissance. Thank you all so much for participating, for coming to watch our first ever episode. And this is so mesmerizing that we even pulled this together, Angela. I'm so still in shock. It just feels
It's a
very
whirlwind.
real that this is happening. Okay, so we should probably introduce ourselves. Do you want to start?
Sure. I will start. Hello to everyone who is new or has known me for some time through my publication. I'm Angela Tunner. I'm the founder and publisher and editor-in-chief of Eat, Love, Savor, International Luxury Lifestyle Magazine and Bookazine. Our publications launched actually this month, 10 years ago. So it's our 10-year anniversary. And
Congratulations.
thank you so much, labor of love. And we are, as we set out to be, ad-free and filled with positivity, beauty, true luxury, classic, timeless. And we really do celebrate all these wonderful things that focus on true luxury.
And this is, I think, a wonderful opportunity to take it as a celebration, really. So you founded the luxury magazine exactly 10 years ago, and now we're doing this and launching the show. So it's a wonderful celebration. Okay, so my name is Martina Olbertova, and I am a social scientist. I'm also an advisor to brands and businesses. I am a cultural and brand strategist. I have like a lot of names. I also am a consultant and expert on how to create and analyze meaning in communication, media, advertising, marketing, and really all of this. And I also have a doctorate in social sciences in media studies. So my background is kind of very complex and kind of sophisticated. And then I worked basically throughout the entire industry in media marketing, name it, advertising, strategy, brand planning, management consulting, strategic innovation for the last 15 years. And I gradually started observing this fundamental loss of meaning in the industry because of how brands are managed. Basically, they're managed in silos. There's a lot of fragmentation to the process, and we sort of manage like each part of the value chain in silo from the other part. So advertising would be managed separately from brand strategy, which would be managed separately from, let's say, business strategy and consulting. And I started observing that there is a fundamental loss of value and meaning in the industry, which inspired me to then 3 years ago in 2017 found my own strategic intelligence consultancy called Meaning Global, which specializes in advising brand and business leaders on how to adapt to the quickly changing context on the 21st century and really read and understand these cultural shifts in society and culture and the global business landscape to unlock these hidden meanings, to unlock the sort of hidden missing knowledge in the industry, which is all about the culture, which is all about the context, which creates the fundamental value that is missing from the brands, so that we can take all this rich essence and meaning and put it back at the core of what we do in business, in branding, advertising, marketing, and obviously in luxury. So this is my background. And then last year, I also published the Luxury Report on redefining the future meaning of luxury, because the meaning of luxury is quickly changing because of the cultural shifts in the world around us. We will get to that. Don't worry, you won't miss anything. But before, okay, so we talked, the intro was long enough. Let me introduce you to our first guest today. Well, obviously the one and only guest. There are not going to be that many. He's the only guest. To Antonio Paraiso. Welcome to our show, Antonio.
Welcome,
Thank
Antonio.
you.
Just to give you a little bit of background, Antonio is an international luxury marketing and innovation expert and TEDx speaker. He has worked with some of the biggest brands in the industry, such as Porsche, Armani, Sheraton, Loewe, Pandora, P&G, Roccaforte Hotels as an executive trainer and a speaker. He is also a strategic advisor to local businesses, Portuguese and Spanish niche luxury and boutique brands, such as five-star hotels, luxury real estate promoters and investors, and something that I'm really excited to talk about later when we get to sustainability and local economy and local growth. Also family-owned businesses such as wine brands or other boutique or family craftsmanship businesses to support a booming local artisan and craftsmanship luxury economy in Spain and in Portugal.
That's right.
He's also a collaborator of the World Business Forum. He speaks at many luxury conferences in the industry and writes articles for industry magazines. So again, Antonio, welcome to the Renaissance Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
One thing that I would like to mention, and it's sort of like the missing link between the two of us. So it looks like we obviously have known each other for a very long time, but you actually are the missing link. You are the magician in the background who sort of pulled the threads and connected the two of us on the backs of me publishing the luxury report last year. And I remember that actually very, very specifically. So I published the luxury report last year in June, and I don't remember exactly the date, but I remember that was a Thursday, and by about Friday noon, I had a message from Angela in my inbox on LinkedIn saying, I just got, forwarded from Antonio this wonderful report, and who are you? And what do you do? So you were the missing link, and I actually did not know, how did she even find me? And then later I learned that it was through you. So thank you so much. So obviously you are
my pleasure.
First choice for our guest.
Choice,
absolutely.
I like sharing valuable content, and I love connecting people. So I'm a connector. I see in the participants quite a few MBA colleagues, and they know back then during MBA, I was always the one talking to everyone and connecting everyone and introducing everyone. I love it.
Yeah,
so that was
exactly
my pleasure. Really,
great.
and your luxury report was really good.
It really was.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it really inspired this, well, if we can say it, a movement, because it's something that we are sort of looking ahead. We want to make this a movement. Obviously this show gives us a unique platform to voice, our own beliefs and values and things that we want to share and talk about. So, and the luxury report was really at the beginning of it. And it's quite funny because Angela asked me to do a profile on me in her magazine. And then obviously we started talking, and the more we talked, the more we realized that we have so much more in common that we ever thought we would have. And this show was just a gradual process of our really bonding and talking about things that are missing from the luxury industry, and how it's all about meaning and all about essence and all about bringing this richness and education and inspiration back at the core of luxury. And this is exactly our aim for the show. This is why we created it. Before I know I gave you a little bit of heads up, Antonio, before we started recording, just to let our viewers know. So obviously this is the first episode of the show. So before we get to the question portion of the program, and obviously have the chance to ask Antonio everything that he knows and he's excited to share, we need to make a little bit of an introduction about sort of to set out the context of where we are now, why we are even talking about luxury being in crisis, why we're even talking about meaning, and obviously then, giving you the core pillars, the foundational pillars for building new value in the luxury industry. I would like to maybe take a little bit of a pause and sort of lay out the context in a way that gives you more understanding for the debate that's going to follow. So I think that even before, so obviously we all know we are all dealing with this COVID pandemic right now. It really hit us hard sometime around February or March this year in the Western world. Obviously it was in Asia, it was a bit earlier than this. But so the COVID pandemic is sort of giving us a very unique opportunity in time to take a pause and reflect on what we see as valuable to us and what is meaningful, and sort of venture inward and back to our own inner essence and reconnecting with our soul to find true meaning and purpose in life. But even before we were able to really get this very much unprecedented moment in time to venture back into ourselves and our true essence, the meaning, the meaning in the industry were sort of already in a process of a gradual loss. So, and that was not just in the luxury, market or the luxury sector, but across the whole business. Now, how did we actually get here? How did we get to the gradual loss of meaning in business, and why some sociologists actually and professors of cognitive science are talking about the meaning crisis in the world? I very much believe that it's connected to this sort of legacy mindset of how we manage businesses and how we manage brands, and it's very much connected to this sort of measurement obsessed and short-termism sort of obsessed lens through which we look at businesses and managing value. And it's very much a legacy of this left-brained business paradigm that is really squeezing out the value. And in terms of just generating short profits, it sort of has taken the life and soul out of brands, which if you look at luxury especially, I mean, this is true for all brands, you know, commercial consumer brands, but especially in luxury, where the essence of the luxury brand is actually the core value. This is becoming very, very problematic. So
I agree.
Yeah.
We will talk about that in a minute.
We will talk about that, absolutely. Yeah. And I know that Angela actually wanted to mention something really interesting about this, I mean, okay, so this gradual loss of meaning in the industry from the business perspective is one thing. That's all the legacy of how brands are managed. But then there is a fundamental sort of missing link or loss of meaning in luxury also from the point of view of the shift from aristocracy to meritocracy. And that I know it's something that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And that moment in time when the luxury brands, particularly Louis Vuitton, when it went public, that was back in 1984. By 1985, I started to notice that there was this really big shift when aristocracy was replaced by meritocracy. I was concerned. I was really concerned for what that was going to do for the meaning, because now what you were doing was, you know, you were switching from one choice to the other. Luxury was properly contextualized. It made sense. It had history and culture and the knowledge and the foundation. But the meritocracy put entry-level products out, starting to saturate the market and diluting the marketplace, losing the essence of what luxury truly was all about. So while it was a route to quick profits and it made luxury more democratized, but it was all about status and seeking flashy symbols, sort of the I've made it, but without really understanding what was behind it, the whole knowledge, the craftsmanship, family history, it was all lost. The origins of luxury are steeped in worlds of royalty and aristocracy, historically only those elevated status had access to luxury. So these luxurious items, they permeated their lives. It was how they lived. It was their lifestyle. It was luxurious. What they owned was typically made for them, personalized, maybe had family crests on them, and it became part of their legacy. So more than just items that were, of course, beautiful and beyond compare, it was their way of life. It was part of who they were. It was their mindset and a lifestyle and a manner of living. So these families growing up in these lifestyle were raised to learn about the value of things and were taught. These teachings were deeply ingrained, and the knowledge was also part of their legacy. They understood it implicitly, the intricacies, the nuances, the manner of care and connection about the materials, how to live with them, how to preserve their value for future generations. It was all part of the heritage and history, and that information was passed down generation to generation. However, with this change to meritocracy, it created this societal shift, and it had an effect on the perception of luxury at the world at large, and it eliminated a very, very vital step in the luxury world. And that vital step that was missed was education. Education about luxury and its meaning. So the result is that the value and meaning were stripped away and replaced with a drive to acquire expensive stuff, and easily acquired, easily disposed of. And of course, we have a disposable society with all this mass manufacturing that's permeated the marketplace at large. So without context and understanding the history, the value, what worth, value, learning about craftsmanship, it was gone. So this consumption and envy-driven mentality about luxury and purchase pressure was also causing this perception and the trust in luxury to wane. So chasing dollars, premium started masquerading as luxury. The term had lost its gilding. People in general were becoming jaded because too many things were starting to call themselves luxury. But how were they to know? They weren't educated to know the difference and what to even look for or why it mattered. So now in a post-COVID world, we have an opportunity to course correct and what should have been done long ago, educate and return to the meaning of luxury. So we're starting this luxury revolution with our new show as a re-evolution to put the meaning back into luxury and choose the route we didn't choose in the past when we were at the crossroads. We're going back to retrieve what was lost in order to move forward in a much more meaningful direction and create real value for people.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
This absolutely is absolutely true, because it is a re-evolution. What we want to truly do with this is to venture on the, I mean, obviously there is a lot of, insight and data and statistics in the luxury industry. We have all the data that we need. We have probably more data that we need. What we do not know, what we do not have, is the sense and the meaning of what that data means in a proper context, so that luxury businesses and brands can create new meaning and new value for the new luxury customer or consumers in the 21st century, because the values are shifting. And this is also why we named this first episode the Human Values Revolution, because we are now seeing a rise of a completely new luxury consumer who has completely different set of needs and drivers and values, and the ways that they identify with the luxury products, which is something that I actually wrote about in the luxury report. We are moving away from this, outdated sort of perspective of, using luxury, as Angela said, as flashy, status symbols to sort of buy the aspirational vehicle, to buy the status that I don't have, with that missing education and the background and understanding how to properly care for luxury and what it means, for that matter. And we are moving away from all that towards a completely different set of values, where luxury is much more about an enhancement and elevation of who I am authentically as an authentic human being with an essence, with my own set of values, and then using those products to creatively enhance who I already am, not to buy into being somebody who I'm not and trying to get a competitive advantage in a society, although, you know, that sort of role of luxury is still going to be there, especially in emerging markets, but it's becoming much more about who I am and identifying with my own inner essence. So this is the reason why we created this show, The Luxury Renaissance. And obviously it's a renaissance, so it's a rebirth of not just luxury, but also ourselves. We are properly, you know, I mean, coming out as ourselves, with you know, having a voice and voicing the different topics and things that we are truly passionate about and things that we want to do in the world and in business, because we believe that by putting the true value and meaning and passion and joy and love into things that we want to do in business will inspire not just this show, but maybe also, you know, clients and new opportunities for creating new things. Because this is exactly why we have arrived at this meaninglessness in the business industry, because that soul and life and joy and love and meaning was stripped away from all that. And what we were left with were just, you know, cold Excel spreadsheets. Well, you know, we're just like obsessed with measuring things, but not creating the value to measure in the first place. So yeah, so this is what we are doing, and I hope you will enjoy the ride with us and and support us. And obviously we are doing it for the community, so we're doing it for you, and we hope to just spread the message from here and grow from here. And that was a long intro. I'm so sorry, Antonio, you had to listen to all that, but we had to put it out there because otherwise it wouldn't make sense what we're doing.
No.
So welcome again.
And you have to tell the thank you. And you need to tell the audience that you will be doing this once a month.
Exactly. Thank you for stealing our outro. Yeah, that's what we wanted to say that at the end. But
you will have much better guests in the next sessions, the coming sessions.
We will we will have other great guests. Okay,
this is a test session.
This isn't like the first pancake that you throw away.
Oh my God, no, Angela, let's say that. Okay, so Antonio, so finally getting to your portion of the program. Right, so the first question is something that I know you're really passionate about talking, which is the true luxury. And obviously we started talking a little bit more about that. You know, Angela started talking about this divide between aristocracy, meritocracy, and how really the true meaning of luxury was lost in that divide. And I know you're really passionate about this whole idea of intangibility, which is very close to my heart as a meaning person. So tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this session. Congratulations on the fantastic work you've been doing and putting together for this conference to discuss and educate about true luxury. Now, directly to your question, what is true luxury? Well, luxury, first of all, is a social, as I see it, my perspective, is a sociological phenomenon of consumption where consumers are educated, they are very demanding, cultivated, they have an incredibly high purchasing power, and so they're looking for products and services that mirror their values, their culture, their lifestyles, their personality and taste. And brands, so in a way, I normally say that luxury, from the business perspective, luxury is the business of ego. You have to understand the ego of your audience and deliver accordingly. So brands need to deliver beyond expectations, which is difficult. How do you deliver beyond expectations? How do you go beyond expectations of very demanding customers? But that's the truth. You really have to go beyond expectations, and you have to surprise people with very high demands and expectations. So in order to do that, true luxury is about, I normally say that it is about the blend of perfect tangibility with seductive intangibility. In luxury, everything which is tangible has to be close to perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And but still it's not enough, because in this world, in this market, in this niche market, I would say, tangibility is taken for granted. I mean, you don't really discuss it. It has to be there, period.
Yeah.
So then brands, sorry?
It's replicable. It's easily replicable.
And it is replicable, and it is comparable. So in order for brands and products and to move away from comparison with competitors, they have to add a lot of seductive intangibility. I'm talking about association with art, culture, education, behavior, mystery, intellect, sophisticated lifestyles, be it very formal, conservative, classical, Ascot lifestyle, or refined, elegant, tasteful, yet relaxed Capri, La Dolce Vita lifestyle. Intangibility is about meaning. Intangibility is about symbology. It is about class. It is about stimulating the senses. It is about really making you dream and feel special. It is about bringing wet eyes and goosebumps.
Yes.
It is about driving you crazy and bringing you to an emotional status and moving you out of rationality. So true luxury, in my opinion, is intangibility. I mean, quality has to be there, craftsmanship has to be there, design has to be there, but then it's the intangible part, the association with culture, art, to mirror the values, the lifestyle, the culture of that very demanding customer or consumer or fan that you really have to bring to your offering.
And that connects so much more deeply on an emotional level.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And cultural level as well.
And cultural. I would say luxury, ultimately luxury is about culture and meaning. So that's the main reason people buy. I mean, it's not need. You don't need it.
Which nicely ties back to my luxury report. Sorry for bringing it up so many times, but it's like very relevant because you and I are very similar in the way that we consult and the whole focus on meaning. Because one of the core ideas that I highlighted in that report was that luxury is all about that symbolic value. It's actually the entire, almost the entire brand equity of a luxury brand is consisted purely from the excess of symbolic value that towers like high over the functional value of the product, which is in a very complex way saying something that you said very simply, which is that customers take that tangible part for granted, whereas the intangibility is not comparable anymore, it's unique. And that is exactly
that's what makes them dream.
Yes.
And that's what makes them feel special. That's the ego part.
But it's not just ego, it's also that fine it's the feelings and the emotional sort of yearning for something. Because I remember that when we were doing
uplifting too.
Prepping for the call, you said something about being going completely crazy for a pair of Ferragamo shoes. I remember that quite distinctly. You were like almost like salivating over the pair of shoes, and you're so bummed out that it's sold out, you know. So it's just, if a product can get you to that state of like pure desire, it must be luxury.
And you see, I'm not a typical luxury consumer. I'm middle class. I'm a technician. I did a master in luxury brand management in Madrid, in one of the best Financial Times ranked business schools. So I'm a technician. I work backstage with the management of brands to help them think their strategies. So normally I am not that, I'm very rational, but sometimes it happens. I saw that those on the internet, I've seen that pair of Ferragamo shoes and I literally went crazy. I mean, they were so beautiful that they really took all the rationality in me. And I was going to buy them, believe me, if they were not sold out, I would buy them. So that's the power of design and beauty, which is a very important ingredient in luxury. But
and not to mention their quality, which they last for years and years. I'm still in love with my Ferragamos, and they barely look like they've been worn. They're so, but anyway, yes, digressing.
But that's, yes, true luxury is basically it. Perfect tangibility with seductive intangibility. That's basically it.
So on to the next question. How did we get here to lose this meaning in luxury? What is the historical trajectory of the luxury industry, and how did we arrive at this moment now where luxury brands have lost their meaning and their inherent essence of value?
Well, historical trajectory, how much time do we have? I could be endless hours talking to you, but I'm not going to bore you with the historical details. I have written an article on the evolution of luxury, and you can find that article on my LinkedIn profile under articles. And in that article, I describe the evolution and the historical trajectory of luxury since the Roman Empire up till nowadays. And so please go to my please go to read my article for details. Now, how did we get here to this loss of meaning? Luxury brands used to be independent, small family businesses created by people with exceptional taste and love for craftsmanship and art and culture. I mean, they were all independent, small houses, small businesses, Vuitton, Chanel, Saint Laurent, Loewe, and some of them are 100, 150, 200 years old. Some others are Dior, Saint Laurent are 60 to 70 years old, Givenchy, 60 years old. Anyway, but for some reason, and for several reasons, in the late 80s, early 90s, the first conglomerates starting to emerge. First, Pinot Printemps, which is now known as Kering Group, later LVMH Group, and then Richemont in Switzerland in '88. And these family houses, these small, independent, luxury, refined family businesses, for several reasons, they started slowly selling their businesses to these conglomerates. Either because they were in financial trouble sometimes, because these small independent businesses, they were very product-oriented, quality-oriented, symbology-oriented. They would create and craft beautiful products, but they were not exactly financial literate, and they would lack the financial knowledge to manage the business. And sometimes in a crisis like the one we had 10 years ago, or the one we're about to face now, these small independent businesses would not survive, and they would ultimately sell their businesses to these conglomerates. But that was not the only reason. they sometimes sold their businesses because they lacked offspring, descent. They didn't have heirs. Their children, either they didn't have any children, or their children, they didn't want to go in the business. So they were getting old. They didn't know what they didn't have any family to take care of the business, so they would sell, or merely for growth reasons, because these small independent family businesses would not grow without on themselves and without being part of a big group. So they started selling, and then in the late 90s, early 2000s, the middle classes around the world, there was a sort of a social revolution. The middle classes around the world started emerging in the US, in Latin America, in Europe as well, and then later in Asia, especially in China. And then slowly, middle classes started emerging, started making more money, and for status reasons, they started buying luxury without understanding it. So they were merely buying luxury for the label, for the tangible part, to show off. And they would not always understand the symbology, the meaning, the culture behind any product. An example, Mont Blanc is one of my favorite brands. And apart from the standard pens like this one I have, I got it from my birthday last year. I love it, but it's a very standard one. It's a normal one. But Mont Blanc has this limited edition of beautiful pens inspired in the life and works of people in arts and science and history as well. So there is the Shakespeare pen, there is the Marie Antoinette pen, there is the Oscar Wilde pen, there is the Dostoevsky pen. So there are pens inspired in the life and works of writers, of kings, of politicians who shaped history, of scientists, philosophers, you name it. And each pen is unique in the design, and each pen has details of the life and work of that personality. So the Shakespeare pen has a very small skull in the clip. And unless you're familiar with Hamlet, that skull says nothing to you. You have money.
Doesn't mean anything.
You've made, yes, it doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't make a connection.
Doesn't make a connection. Doesn't give you goosebumps. Doesn't make you wet eyes. So the Shakespeare pen is for Shakespeare lovers who will buy the pen and who will indulge and appreciate observing the pen and discovering the details.
Maybe even remembering the first time they read Hamlet. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes. Or seen it on Broadway or on the West End. So that's what I mean. I mean, the loss of meaning was mainly because of this social revolution. On the one hand, middle classes emerged in Brazil, in China, in the US, in Mexico, in South Europe mainly. And then on the other hand, almost simultaneously, big conglomerates, big groups, financial economic groups started buying brands. LVMH has more than 70 brands. Kering has more than 15 to 20 brands. And these are financial groups. They have shareholders. They have to make a profit. So they started pushing sales. And they need to
different
sell.
Motivation. Yeah.
It's a different motivation. So in a way, that's the meaning and the intangibility has been a little bit lost. I mean, it is there from the product side and the offering
Sure.
side.
But if you are not able, if you're not familiar with the context, which is the operative
if you're not
word,
familiar with the context, if
you
you
don't
are not
understand
an
the meaning behind it.
educated
Yeah.
consumer, you don't understand the details.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
it's actually not
my opinion.
This is actually quite
Yes.
interesting point, because it's not like, it's not luxury industry's fault that luxury was, like, partly it is because of the short-term mindset and like pushing for profit, like sales for profit, but it's also not entirely their fault that luxury was sort of relegated to this, you know, status seeking symbolism and just like acquiring, you know, like luxury objects to seem of a higher status. It's also also partly because of this utter decontextualization, because if you don't understand the culture and the knowledge behind it, it's not going to mean as much to you. And therefore, you know, if it's a luxury object or an object of like a piece of art, even stripped away from this essential meaning that it's inherent in the thing that you're looking at and that you're acquiring, if you are not the one to appreciate it and understand what's behind it, is just a mere object, and then obviously is just to show off. But that's not the primary role of luxury, and it never was supposed to be, which is something that Angela just talked about in her excursion into the history of meritocracy and aristocracy. Right. Okay. So yeah. So okay. So now we understand, obviously. So there are so many different levels of this loss of meaning in the industry.
It's not very layered.
One, it's like it starts with you. You know, there's this sort of, we had choice between going one route or the other. You know, at the beginning of the 80s, with this, what just Antonio said, with the rise of the middle classes and the rise of meritocracy and pushing the products through the consolidation of the luxury industry, we obviously took the choice of going the second route, which like ultimately stripped away meaning from luxury. But we had the second choice, which we didn't take, which was properly contextualized luxuries for knowledge and understanding of culture. Right. So this is like one level of the loss of meaning. And obviously with the whole consolidation, there's like many more layers to it. Right. Okay. So we sort of like covered the basis now, because it's like rebuilding the house, right? It's like it goes in steps.
Reverse engineering in a manner of speaking.
Taking it apart to take it back in the right way. Okay. So, right. So we now know where we stand with this like historical loss of meaning and the consolidation. Now add to this mix the COVID pandemic, right? Yes. And where we are right now, and how there was already, when I wrote the report last year, there was already a lot of cultural complexity and the disruption in the luxury industry due to digital and technology, due to like cultural diversification and different cultural shifts, just like disintegrating basically the meaning of luxury. And now adds to that the COVID pandemic, which we are now, you know, venturing inward, you know, to the soul essence, retrieving what really matters to us. Now, how in this situation can we actually move forward? We were talking about something like the core pillars for the new luxury, you know, moving forward. So what do those look like?
Well, first of all, before discussing the core pillars, or what I believe are the core pillars, in my opinion, talking a little bit about the impact of the pandemic in the luxury industry. This impact is not, I mean, first of all, not all luxury is alike. And so the interesting fact is that I've been following, as a technician that I'm a consultant, so I need to be updated in my knowledge for my clients. And so I've been reading a lot and following and talking to brands and understanding the impact in their businesses. And what I understand is that there are different impacts. Mind you, the pandemic has been good for the business of some brands, and not so good or really bad for the business of other brands and industries. You see, Just a bit of contextualization.
Mm-hmm.
The luxury industry is composed officially of 9 product categories.
Mm-hmm.
Cars, I don't know them all by heart. Let me see if I can get them right. Cars, automobiles, personal luxury goods, which personal luxury is fashion, cosmetics,
Yes, yeah.
jewelry, watches, perfumery, and accessories.
Mm-hmm.
And all this together, personal luxury, worth half of automobiles. So the category number 1 is cars.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the luxury industry is worth 1.3 trillion euros.
Mm-hmm.
1.3 trillion euros. These are data from 2019. 1.3 trillion euros. Cars account for almost 50%. 550 billion euros are automobiles. Bugattis, Ferraris, Porsches, Bentleys, Rolls Royces, and the like, and Maseratis, and then personal luxury accounts for half of cars, 280 billion euros of turnover. And then category number 3 is hospitality. Number 4 is either wines and spirits or fine dining, I'm not sure. And then you have arts and antiques, and then you have private jets and yachts, and then you have interior design and furniture. Sorry? I'm sorry?
What's that?
And then you have cruises and so on. So impact, private jetting and yachts, sales have been increasing. Because those who can, they don't want to fly commercial airlines, and they prefer to fly private. So private jets, the business of private jetting is increasing with the pandemic.
Demand is definitely up in that area.
Demand, yes. Hospitality, there are mixed impacts here. Seaside and city hotels are suffering a lot, whilst countryside resorts are having increased demand. People want to go to remote locations, to go to the green fields, to go to up the hills, to the countryside, and move away from the crowds. So there has been, and for real estate as well, I mean, the impact of real estate is, it will be more, the impact will be greater in the big cities, and the demand will grow for countryside real estate.
Oh yes, I read in Forbes, in fact, that the wealthy are moving out of the cities in droves.
Exactly, I read that report yesterday as well in Forbes. So the wealthy, that was a report made by UBS, the Swiss bank.
That's right.
And they interviewed 4,000 to 5,000 high net worth individuals, and half of them, 47% of them, said they want to move away from the big cities for good, permanently. And they are buying properties, they are buying houses in the countryside, and they're moving away from New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, Milan. And so wines and spirits, the demand is growing. Cars, the demand is stable. I've been talking to car people, and it's amazing. They keep on selling cars. So the big impact is in fashion. Fashion is supposed to to lose 25 to 30% of their business because of the pandemic. But hospitality, mainly seaside hospitality and city hospitality, is suffering a lot. Fine dining is suffering a lot. The restaurants are empty. But private chatting is growing. Wines and spirits is growing. Countryside hospitality is growing. And so the impact is different. Depending on the product category you're in. Now, going to the 4 pillars, the core pillars, which in my opinion are 4: too old and too new. After pandemic, in my opinion, luxury will have to embrace digital. There's no other way. But let me tell you my personal opinion, very honestly. Digital is not the natural environment for luxury. It has never been, and in my opinion, it will never will. But it's a must. You have to.
You have to bridge the two, otherwise something will get lost.
You have to find, yes, you have to find ways, and that's the challenge. To use technology to communicate the dream, to bring emotion to the interaction with a customer, which is very difficult.
Yes.
I mean, luxury is about customization, is about personal interaction, is about seducing the customer. I remember once, I told you I'm middle class. I'm not exactly a regular luxury consumer, but as a technician, I visit luxury shops, luxury outlets very often. And last time I was in Paris, I went to Faubourg Saint-Honoré, Hermès, on a Saturday morning. And I was there just to observe. And I saw this beautiful episode of an Asian lady. I could not tell whether she was Korean or Japanese. An Asian lady asking to see silk scarves. And the Hermès French sales associate, she did a fantastic job of seducing that lady. And she seduced the lady in such a way, I stopped and watched for 7 minutes that interaction. It was so seductive that in the end, the lady, the Asian lady, she was really absolutely thrilled and in such an emotional status that she bought 2 or 3 silk scarves and quite a few leather items.
And I'm sure she'll never forget that moment.
She will
either.
never forget. I mean, the way the products would be presented and all the theatrical, their theatrical moves and the interaction. And
it's an art.
It's fantastic. And this will be lost in digital. So but on the other way, I mean, this pandemic, people are afraid of going out, of going to shops. I mean, I read this piece of news last week, which is really disturbing. Valentino decided to close their store in New York's Fifth Avenue for good, permanently, shut down forever. Victoria's Secret, but in my opinion, not because of the pandemic, because they were financially unstable before the pandemic. Victoria's Secrets closed their shop in Hong Kong for good. So luxury brands are closed. A luxury hotel in Manhattan closed 2 weeks ago for good. They're not open again.
But then, Antonio, sorry to interrupt you, but then you also mentioned something really interesting about Hermès in China.
Yes,
record spending of everything that they ever seen in the entire history of Hermès in China.
it's difficult. I mean, it's revenge spending. It's difficult to understand, but there are these mixed impacts. And you're right. I mentioned to you the other day, we were talking, and I told you, I mean, on the first Saturday after the lockdown in China, when China opened, Hermes in one Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. has sold $2.7 million in one day. It's absolutely amazing.
It's remarkable.
But I believe it's an exception. I'm not sure this will happen very often. So,
sure.
Okay, but one of the pillars is, okay, luxury brands, they don't like digital. Digital is not their natural environment, but it's a must. Because of the pandemic, they will have to embrace digital.
And so I think it's going to take a lot of creativity to make that platform.
Yes, Angela, it will take a lot of creativity. I posted this morning in my LinkedIn profile a piece of news about Ferragamo. Ferragamo has just launched last week their first augmented reality store.
I saw that story. Yes,
where
fascinating.
If you have augmented reality in your device, it works with augmented reality only. Otherwise, the experience is not the same. If you have augmented reality, you can dive inside the Milan store and you feel you are inside the store. You interact with the products. It's an interactive digital experience.
Yes.
So
but I know Martina and I talked about this yesterday, that one of the things missing from that is, especially for people like you, Martina, that are tactile, to feel it.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
yeah, we spoke about it, and also that also brings me to the other point that you mentioned about. Obviously, it's very hard to replicate the art of the seduction in an online space. However, you also said that Net-a-Porter sold this record sale of
yes, for instance, yes.
That's
2 years
quite
ago,
fascinating,
yes,
because then it completely goes against everything that we just talked about. So
you
it
see,
is possible, but you have to be very crafty.
Yes,
that's also a nice example. That was Yux Net-a-Porter, which is a digital platform. It's a direct competitor of Farfetch, and it belongs to the Richemont Group. And 2 years ago, I met the CEO of Yux Net-a-Porter at the Financial Times Business of Luxury Summit, which is one of the events I attend every year. I'm not attending this year because of the pandemic. I'm still a bit afraid of flying. Otherwise, I would go. But I've been attending during the last 4 to 5 years. And I met Francesco, I can't remember his last name, the CEO of Yux Net-a-Porter. And he shared this experience. This digital platform has sold for the first time, back then, 2 years ago, a 130,000 euros watch, totally online. And so he was telling us, yes, it is possible to sell 130K products online. So, and then he explained the process. Of course, it's you don't go in the platform, see a watch, and enter your
put it in
credit
a basket
card.
and off you go.
It was a 6 to 8 week process.
There's still human interaction in
yes, they have personal assistants in the platform, which start building a relationship since day one. You go in the platform, start watching and surveying products, and then you get the interaction of a personal assistant, and this person will be your personal assistant online, and They will call you often, you will speak on the phone, you interact, you don't talk about business, you talk about taste, they get to know the client. Then they use technology to make the augmented reality, virtual reality, so that the customer can feel and see the product in their wrist. So that's the beauty of technology. They help you. They help you see the product in different ways. So, and the deal was closed, and the sale was closed 6 or 7 weeks later. So 130K. So yes, so digital is there, and brands have to embrace it. Another core pillar is sustainability and local production. And in my opinion, I mean, ostentation, luxury used to be about ostentation, extravagance, and wastefulness. And slowly, in the last 5 years, I would say, it has been diverting to sustainability and planet protection and protecting people, local communities, and contributing to a better world. And the key performers in this field are the Caring Group. They're doing a fantastic job in sustainability and biodiversity. L'Oreal, in 3 years in a row, they have been one of the best cosmetic brands in the world, cosmetic groups in the world on sustainability. They got a AAA standard. Stella McCartney and Gabriela Hearst in fashion, they've been doing a fantastic job. 2 independent designers, one British, one, well, Gabriela Hearst is Uruguayan born and American citizen now, and she lives in New York. And she has a beautiful, sustainable fashion brand. Ruinart in the Champagne, you should follow. I'm following Ruinart on LinkedIn. They are building a beautiful sustainability project. So, and they are the oldest champagne brand. So there are a number of brands which are doing a beautiful job in sustainability and in making planet a better place. And local.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
But something that you actually said, Antonio, before when we were speaking before about sustainability is that it's like a two-way stream. It's not just basically taking huge luxury conglomerates and addressing sustainability from the top down. It's also the bottom up. It's also the local produce and those beautiful niche luxury companies that you work with, for instance, the wine brand that just got the amazing award of excellence. So you can go both ways on the sustainability level. It's not just circular economy for huge global brands. It's also helping elevate the small local family businesses that really have craftsmanship at excellence.
That's right. So thank you for mentioning it. Thank you for mentioning it. Yes, that's right. And mind you, sustainability is not only about the planet, it's also about people. People protection.
Absolutely.
It's also about corporate social responsibility. It's about making businesses sustainable.
It's about value.
It's about value. So yes, I'm consulting a very small wine brand in Portugal at the moment, and this is I've started 5-6 weeks ago. It's all new for me, so it will be a long process. I'm just starting, but it's a beautiful brand. They have extreme quality. And I'll tell you why. They are not it's a small niche business, and instead of having their own farms and growing their own grapes, they decided to go a different way. They are buying the grapes of 500 local independent farmers. So they are buying the grapes from those very small farmers who grow grapes with love and passion and care. And they are contributing to the well-being of 500 small families, local families.
Absolutely.
And then they pick those grapes, and with their technology and their savoir-faire and their knowledge, and they produce beautiful wines. They have been winning international prizes and awards, and it's so typical of small product and quality oriented businesses. They were so absorbed in producing quality that they didn't do any marketing so far. So they now finally called me, and I am starting to work with them first building a strategy and then a communication plan to communicate with refinement and with symbology all this quality. One of their sparkling wines has been voted internationally among the 50 world's best. And one of their white wines in Japan has won the #1 first prize for the wine which best matches and pairs with sushi. I mean, coming from Japanese, it's quite an honor that you have a wine, which is the #1 wine in the world, to pair with sushi.
And all of them without marketing. So
and that's because of the quality of the grapes and because of the quality of the wine making.
They can be more intimately involved in the quality control and the connection with the grapes and the earth and the farmers.
And that's exactly the testament to doing things of great value and excellence and meaning with essence at the core. I mean, you just said it speaks for itself. So we just need to find a way to come back to this.
On social corporate responsibility, I have to also mention my favorite brand, remember, Mont Blanc, or one of my favorites. They're doing a fantastic job. Since in the last 10 years, Mont Blanc has been partnering with UNICEF. And with UNICEF, they have been launching several projects and raising funds. And so far, they have raised $10 million to invest $10 million in private funding. And they have been investing that money in the education of children from vulnerable families in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. So chapeau to Mont Blanc. And this has to be talked about. I mean, luxury brands are not just about extravagance or about ostentation.
A lot of giving
They're
back.
doing, luxury brands are incredible creators of value. And they make a lot of money, but most of them are doing fantastic work, either protecting the planet or protecting local communities and vulnerable communities. So, and this is important. So if you, to the audience who is listening to us right now, if you have favorite brands, go on the website and search and look for their corporate social responsibility policies, their sustainability and planet protection policies. You will find beautiful stories that are worth mentioning.
Well, as an editor, that's tweaking on my ears about some wonderful articles that could be written to share.
Yeah, another core pillar is spiritualism. After COVID, I feel that people want to go back to their roots, human values, humanity, spirituality. And we see this trend very big, mainly in hospitality. And let me just mention two examples. one of the cases I follow very, very closely, it's also one of my favorite brands, and I follow their strategy and their work, is Aman, Aman Resorts.
Yeah.
And Aman has just launched a couple of months ago, during the pandemic or just before the pandemic, they have launched a new brand called Janu, Janu. Janu, Janu Resorts for wellness of their concept is the resort for the well-being of the body and the mind. They treat the body but also the mind. So they care for spirituality, they care for personal transformation, they care for mindful yoga, mindful experiences, mindfulness, and so on and so forth. And the other example is in Mexico, the Chablé. You should follow Chablé Yucatan Resorts. Chablé has been recently voted their spa, I guess, the best in the world, or one of the 3 best in the world.
I noticed that.
Their spa. And they are a beautiful wellness resort in Mexico, Chablé. So I see mainly in hospitality this spirituality thing or trend being developed very fast. So
absolutely,
more and more wealthy people, they want to go to hotels and resorts to take care of the body, but also to take care of the mind. So they go for a massage, they go to the swimming pool, but then they go to mindfulness sessions, yoga sessions, meditation. They go to psychologists, personal transformation experts, and you have all these inside the hotel.
That's a very rich experience.
This makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it's like experiential luxury, and the whole hospitality movement was already on the rise. But coming back to this COVID pandemic and us having really the proper time to pause and disconnect from the world in order to reconnect back to ourselves, this is what is going to really help the hospitality luxury industry to take a huge leap forward. And this is actually something that I had after the COVID pandemic broke. I had this interview with Forbes about okay, what does it mean and where are we actually going? And I sort of felt what was already happening, was going to happen when it comes to this sort of transition more towards well-being and wellness and healing and connecting to our inner essence. So I said something like, this COVID pandemic really is a blessing in disguise, because it's helping the luxury industry to speed up the full transition towards the space that was already going into. But we are, thanks to this, we are able to actually transition much faster than we would be able to do otherwise. So when it comes to wellness and well-being and spirituality, this whole part of the luxury industry will be on a tremendous rise from now on.
Yeah, and then the last core pillar I would mention, it's an old one. It has always been there, but it's gaining increased relevance after the pandemic, and which is symbology and cultural relevance. And brands are investing more and more in this cultural relevance and meaning and symbology. Bulgari is investing in the restore of ancient marble statues of a cultural foundation. Bentley is communicating. Bentley has just celebrated last year their centenary. They're 100 years old, and they are communicating very subtly, but very subtly communicating and weaving their cultural relevance by weaving personal connection with the royal family. And they have a very close relationship with the royal family, and they produce customized automobiles for the royals. So, and this is a symbology which adds a lot of value to the Bentley cars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vacheron Constantin, a beautiful Swiss watchmaker, they have this most beautiful watch collection, the Masks of Time, inspired by tribal masks of primitive art. And
Mm-hmm.
they are picturing, they have a collection of different watches, and each watch has a mask of a given tribe, from the Aborigines in Australia to tribes in Latin America, in the Amazon, or tribes in Indonesia, or and it's a beautiful collection of watches, and with incredible cultural relevance and symbology.
Mm-hmm.
And this symbology, more than ever after this pandemic, adds value to products, mm-hmm. and has to be there. And mind you, also, and just on a funny note, earlier this year, a consulting firm in the US did a very interesting research. They decided to research the value over the evolution of value and the evolution of prices of 3 different products along the same period of time, 35 years. During 35 years, they analyzed the evolution of prices and value of gold.
Mm-hmm.
They analyzed the evolution of prices of the Standard & Poor 500 stock exchange index. And they analyzed the prices and value of the Birkin bag, Hermes bag.
I know where
I
this is
kind of
going.
feel where you're leading.
During 35 years. Turns out that Standard & Poor stock exchange in the last 35 years gained 11% value,
Mm-hmm.
gold 2% value,
Mm-hmm.
and the Birkin bag 14% value. So the Birkin bag is a better investment than gold and stock.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And the Birkin bag is all about symbology,
Sure.
as well as the Kelly bag.
Oh, yes.
It's all about symbology.
Of course.
That's what it is. So this is the true value of symbology and exclusivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I know that you're also really passionate about the culture of luxury, the philosophical and the anthropological
Yes.
side, and the role of the intangibles in creating value. You've also had some really great teachers in your luxury career,
Yes.
Gilles Lipovetsky, Mr. Loewe. What have you learned from them, and what have some of the biggest lessons taught you?
Yes, I was very fortunate to be to have as a master, as a teacher, Gilles Lipovetsky, a French contemporary philosopher and one of the most respected thinkers, contemporary thinkers, on the essence of luxury.
Mm-hmm.
He has written many books. My favorite, and it's considered his best book, is Eternal Luxury, Le Luxe Éternel.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the classes and the conversations we used to have. I speak French, and it helps because we used to talk in French and discuss in French after class. And Mr. Lipovetsky taught me about dreams. Luxury is about dreaming, and dreaming is essential to humanity. And he would ask in class, does humanity really exist without dreams? And he would say in class, I remember, that luxury is an absolute necessity of human beings in order to affirm their superiority to other animals. That's why I say that this is the business of the ego. We need to affirm our ego. Otherwise, we will be just like any other animal. That our existence will be about survival. How boring this would be if we would live just to survive, if we didn't have any dreams, aspirations, wants. And this would be the kind of classes we would have. We would have discussions about the sociology of luxury, the philosophy of luxury, and we would have in-class philosophical debates. And this is what I miss most from the.
And then you said something that Mr. Loewe taught you that just really stuck with you all these years.
Mr. Loewe, a beautiful Spanish brand, Loewe. Loewe is a German name. Loewe brand was started in 1846 by this German leather craftsman who moved from Germany to Spain and became the leather maker and the luggage maker of the Spanish royal family. And then in 1846, he started the Loewe brand. In the beginning, a luggage brand, a leather goods brand, and then nowadays a fashion brand. And I was fortunate enough to have the Mr. Loewe, the fourth generation of the family, as my master, my teacher. And he would discuss in class purpose, meaning, and authenticity and legitimacy. He would tell me, Antonio, a true luxury brand has to be authentic and has to work authenticity as a value. A true luxury brand needs to weave, like weaving, needs to weave meaning and purpose. And only then this luxury brand or this brand will have the legitimacy to be luxury.
Absolutely.
And so we would have this kind of also philosophical debates with Mr. Loewe. And this is what I miss most from the program I did in Madrid. I lived and studied in Madrid. I'm Portuguese, I'm based in Portugal, but I lived in Madrid and had a wonderful time studying luxury brand management with fantastic professors. I also had another, let me just name one of my professors and a good friend nowadays, Susana Campuzano. Susana is a Spanish lady. She was my luxury marketing teacher. She in class she taught me the value of beauty. She would tell in class that beauty is absolutely essential in business, and beauty is about taste, and is absolutely essential in business in luxury, because beauty is magnetic. Beauty sells. Beauty draws you in. Beauty makes you 100% emotional and takes all your rationality out of you.
Which is what you want as a luxury brand.
Yes, absolutely.
That's right.
That's a very needed concept to have.
Beauty is, and we would have fantastic discussions about beauty in class. So thanks to Susanna as well, I understood the real value of beauty. Yes,
That's great.
I had fantastic teachers, yes.
You had, and I would absolutely love to be in the class with Mr. Loewe. I think that we would absolutely be 100% aligned in our beliefs about meaning and luxury and authenticity and everything. Right. Okay. So you just talked about the beauty and how it's magnetic, and then earlier you talked about the art of seduction and how it's not about rationality. It's not even about selling. It's really about seducing the customer through creating some kind of meaningful experience that caters to their, you know, desires and emotional side and feelings. So you actually created your own desirability formula that has some kind of pillars to strategically assess whether that brand is the you know, to be desired or not. Can you explain that a bit more?
I mean, yes. Well, how daring of me to create my own formula. Who am I? But yes, I did. I mean, I'm sure it has lots of flaws, but it is my formula and it is the way I see it. And it all started one day. It was maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I can't, yes, 2 years ago, approximately. I was on the internet. I'm always looking for information about luxury markets. And I was surfing the internet, and by accident, I bumped into a video interview of Mr. Bernard Arnault to Bloomberg channel, TV channel. Mr. Bernard Arnault, the CEO and chairman of LVMH Group, the leading conglomerate in luxury business. And the Bloomberg journalist asked Mr. Arnault, in China, in Asia in general, but especially in China, many luxury brands are decreasing sales, or were decreasing sales back then, 2 years ago. But not LVMH brands. In fact, LVMH brands have increased sales in China in 2018 by about 15%, whilst other brands, namely Gucci and other Italian brands, were decreasing sales back then. And so the journalist asked Mr. Arnault, in your opinion, why is that you are increasing sales whilst your competitors, mainly the Italian competitors, are decreasing sales? And he said, I believe that it is about the desirability of LVMH brands. And that got me thinking. I switched off the video and I started thinking, how do you build desirability? If desirability is such an important ingredient to make you sell 15% more, to grow sales by 15 to 20%. So how do you build desirability? And I started thinking, and eventually about 5 to 6 weeks later, it took me about a month and a half to think. And I started reflecting upon it and taking my notes slowly. And on the following morning, I would go back to my notes of the previous day and I would erase it. No, it's not it. And then I would rephrase it and reformulate it. And in the end, after 6 weeks, I came up with this formula and I shot a video. So I invite you to go to my YouTube channel and watch the video. How do you build desirability? And you have all the details there. But I will not mention the details now, but I will tell you that in my opinion, you need, in order to build desirability, you need 3 pillars. And then each of the pillars will divide in more deeper and specific information, which you can watch in the video. And the first pillar is creativity. You need creativity in order to foster innovation, differentiation, and uniqueness, in order to wow the customer, surprise the customer. So creativity is key. You need design. Why design? To create your own aesthetical universe, to create beauty. We were just telling a moment ago that beauty is so important. I mean, taste is the appreciation of beauty and the understanding of beauty. So you need beauty in your products and in your brand universe, and you need to create your own aesthetical universe. That is why the role of the artistic director, the creative director in a luxury brand is so important. Because they create all the universe of aesthetics that you need to develop beauty, because then beauty will drive you crazy. Beauty is magnetic and will draw you in and sell. And last but not the least is the third pillar is brand equity. All luxury brands are creators of value, of incredible value, and their equity and meaning, but meaning is there. Meaning is there. So how do you build brand equity? With meaning, with exclusivity, with symbology, with icons, with associations with art and culture, with consistent marketing communication, not advertising, but mainly personal interactions and very exclusive, refined private events. And so, but it's all in the video. But yes, this is my formula to build desirability, creativity, design, and brand equity.
Yes, and all parts of the rich tapestry that makes up the culture of luxury.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
I'm sure we could talk for forever, like for a couple of more hours.
And we have already gone over, and thank you for all of our viewers who have stuck in there with us while we've really dove deep into this conversation.
What I wanted to do at the end, just to give our viewers, because this was a lot to take in. Obviously, it's kind of like a rich excursion into the past, what has been happening recently in the the last decade, and a couple of last year, and obviously this year that completely turned the whole industry upside down, not just luxury industry, but the business world because of the COVID. So hopefully we covered all the bases there. And I know it was a lot to take in. So what I would like to do at the end maybe is to just draw out a couple of takeaways, or like the key things that I believe were most important. Let's see. What did I learn today? Obviously, so Angela and I talked quite in depth about this meritocracy and aristocracy divide, how there was meaning that was lost because of the poor context or decontextualization of luxury. Obviously in the 80s and the 90s, with the rise of the global conglomerates, it was already even pushed more aside because the focus was shifted towards generating profit and making a lot of sales, rather than, understanding the true value and essence of luxury inherently from the inside out. So that, I think, is one really key takeaway. What else did I learn? That luxury is all about seduction. You seduce the customer. You create some kind of meaningful experience that is all about the values and the ways to sort of connect with the luxury brand and the luxury product. It's really, what actually got me thinking is that it's really not a sale, and it's really not even like an acquiring an object of art or like a luxury item. It really reminds me much more about like picking your own spouse, because you are sort of creating this, not to relegate spouses to objects, the other way around.
There's a process of connection with another human.
It's a long-term process, and you're going to be with that brand or with that product for a long period of time. And obviously, sometimes it's a hefty investment.
It's a good analogy
on a
Martina.
really profound level.
It's a good analogy because the relationship between a consumer and their favorite products and brands is love.
Love. Of course. It is about love,
Absolutely.
which is exactly, well, what Angela put at the core of her magazine is the eat, love, savor, and also is the value with which we are doing this show. It's all about love and essence and
My
meaning.
favorite magazine.
Aw.
Beautiful, beautiful
Okay.
Bless your
magazine.
heart.
This is
Nice
is
promotion, Angela.
Yes, and certainly is.
the best luxury magazine I have ever seen in my life. Honestly,
Humbled.
Yeah.
Eat, Love,
my.
Savor.
Okay.
My
Great.
favorite.
Thank you for
So,
that. Right. Yeah. So on
You're
meaning,
welcome.
on the art of seduction, and what else did we cover? What anybody else has any like really interesting insights or takeaways that you would like to
Yeah.
highlight from today?
Mhm. Angela, what did you learn? And,
Well, there's
and
always so much.
the audience can send us questions
Oh,
as well.
yes, absolutely.
We don't have time to answer questions today, but
No,
I will be delighted to debate with you by email. So please send your questions. Which email?
absolutely.
Which
So,
We'll get
email?
to that later. Antonio, you're
Oh,
still
okay. Sorry.
sorry.
Okay.
We're
he's right
have-
that we do need to wrap this up. So
Yeah,
I will be very
we
brief
do.
with my takeaways.
Okay.
I concur with both of your takeaways. And I also add that I think with this need to bridge with digital and that it's an inevitability,
Yeah.
something
inevitability.
makes me think, because I always look to history to find answers into modernity. And I think that something perhaps in history may point to an answer forward where we can blend the digital and the human experience and come up with something very future forward. So it's more research. You know me, I love to research, but I just have this little niggling feeling that history is where we need to look going forward.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Okay.
Very well.
Well, then, thank you so much. It's a wrap.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to the first episode of our new show, Antonio. It's been a great pleasure having you here and talking to you
Thank
about
you
all
for
this.
having me.
We
Thank
really
you to
enjoyed
the
it.
audience for sticking there and listening to us.
Okay,
Thank you so
for,
much.
obviously, to the audience as well. Before we let you go, audience, a couple more notes on the sort of logistics or the process stuff that we wanted to cover. So this, as Antonio said at the beginning, is a monthly show. So this is the first episode that we just launched today. But obviously, if you like the show, which we truly hope you did, you can mark it permanently in your calendar from now on. So every third Wednesday at 4 p.m. London time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and 11 a.m. New York time or East Coast time?
That's right, Eastern Standard Time.
Right, Eastern Standard Time. So, yeah, thank you. So the next episode will be on August 19 at this exact time. We are now working on confirming the guests for the upcoming episode. So obviously we will, once we have the guest confirmed, we will share it everywhere on social media. It will be shared in the magazine. And right, so you will be able to book the session and register on the link. Right, so that's I think from me. And now you wanted to talk about where can they send the question and what are we going to do from now on?
Questions. We would love to hear your questions. We're building a community here. And one of the reasons we didn't go with a Q&A live in the conversation is we love to give you time to reflect and think about what it is that you would like to ask so that we can also think about how to respond and to give you a meaningful response. So we encourage you to please send your questions to hello@eatlovesavor.com, and we will answer them in a special Q&A column in the next issue and online. And so we also hope that you've enjoyed this first episode, and we really, really look forward to seeing you next month and to getting those questions.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you,
so
everyone. Thank you, the audience.
You can ask,
Angela.
if you have any questions for this episode, you can obviously ask Antonio, you can ask Angela, you can ask me, and we will put together a short Q&A column and then share it everywhere again on social media or send it directly to your email if you registered for this episode. So that's yeah, and this is the true end. So this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We
everyone.
just enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And hope to
Thank
see
you so
next
much.
time. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Thank you again. Bye-bye. Thanks.